Welcome back to Global War 1939. Just finished off round 10. So this is a very interesting turn. A lot of good things happened for the Axis and a lot of good things happened for the Allies. So let's take a look. For the Germans, sadly, they did lose Paris. That fell to the British when they attacked, which did a couple of things. It now re-entered France back on the side of the Allies. They're no longer a rebel nation, and they are back a full-fledged member of the Commonwealth. So right now the Commonwealth consists of 6 countries as opposed to just the 5. The French income, their initial money that they collected as officially back in the game, they collected $14. So once Paris falls, that immediately gives France 4 infantry at no cost. Any territories that were under Vichy control, and any territories held by where the British were collecting money or the Americans, they all switched back to French. And any territories that had a mix of Vichy and German or Italian units, those territories would stay Axis. So all these territories here were initially under British control, so they just go back to France. This territory just had Vichy units, so that goes back to France. This was American, that goes back to France. That was British, that goes back to France. This one here, Marseille, had a mix of 2 German infantry and artillery from Vichy. So they stayed on the side of the Axis, which prompted the Americans to take units in both these 2 territories, swing in, and liberate it. So all of mainland France is now back under Allied control, except for Reims is still under the Germans. So it's a very interesting situation once the landing started happening. I believe it was turn 6, possibly 7, but I do believe 6. I did not foresee turn of events entering or Paris being liberated. So definitely very interesting. I'm not sure if the Germans have enough to recapture it. We will see. They do have their armor, some mechanized and artillery, and these units here, and of course their Air Force can get in there. And their Air Force now in Western Europe is the 3 tacticals and 5 veteran fighters. The bombers went and helped Moscow. So the bombers are kind of out of range to assist in Paris, but the rest of the Air Force is able to get there. The German Navy finally did remove the Russian blockade from preventing the Germans from getting out of the Baltic Sea. So the only real blockers now, they got a couple destroyers and a Brazilian coastal battleship, really stopping the Germans from engaging with the British and American transport fleets. But the Germans really don't have a lot here. They got 3 destroyers and a cruiser. So if they were going to a naval engagement, they would need to build up their navy quite significantly compared to what they have. Over on the east in the Soviet area, Moscow did fall, as you can tell. They survived with just their armor. They did lose a couple of medium tanks, but all the rest of their support equipment did get destroyed in that battle. But more importantly, they managed to achieve their objective, was to capture the capital. But because the Japanese had their secondary capital, Russia has been reduced from a world power down to basically rebels at this point. They do still hold these 2 cities, but they have no income. So if they were worried about unit loss before, that is definitely on the forefront of their mind, as they have no way of recouping those losses. So basically, the only thing that Russia can actually do, the only hope that they have, take their Stalingrad units. There's no point of defending the facility anymore because it's not going to do anything. It's non-operational. Move up one step south of Moscow. The Leningrad forces move to the north and attack both ends. In Leningrad, we have 9 infantry, 2 light bombers, a light armor rocket, 2 artillery, and 1 elite guard. Down in Stalingrad, we have 5 infantry, a rocket, 2 elite guards. So on the map, they only have 1 armor, which is light. So we'll see what they can do. Or the Germans might just take all their tanks and hit one of the cities and not worrying about infantry support. Just go and take out what they can and worry about their losses after the fact. But I would suspect most of this armor is now going to head towards France, where it is needed there much more so than here. So the Allies in France really do need to get a stronger foothold. It will take a couple turns for this armor to get down west. So they have roughly 2 to 3 turns to completely secure this with more waves of infantry and land-based units. So in the Atlantic, the United Kingdom is continuously purchasing as many units as possible. They do have 6 transports, so they can get over 12 units, maybe getting 1 or no, they got 2 more transports up here. So they can get over quite a number of units every turn. So they're going to try to focus on maxing out both facilities every turn and get as much material over as possible. The Americans are doing the same thing. So if they ever get to a situation where they're bringing over 40 units at a time, I think France would stay under Allied control. The Americans did purchase a couple more transports. So they have 11 here, 5 here, and 9 in that stack. So if they can get each stack up to 10, they can get over all 20 units all at once. They got 22 coming over this turn, and they'll get hopefully 20 over every turn, because they decided to go with transports because they started noticing that they were bringing material over, but they were leaving material behind, and that is a telltale sign you don't have enough transports. So they invested a little more into that. They might have to switch for a turn or two to warships, because the Italians are coming. It's only a matter of time. There's only 2 infantry in Gibraltar. Unless they plan on bringing a stack of these transports down to Gibraltar to reinforce that. And then they might not even have to get warships, forcing the Italians to come out and go into the Indian Ocean, go all the way around Africa to get to the Atlantic, which would take a significant amount of time, almost to the point where they may or may not even do that. But we will see. Gibraltar would be the main target. The Italians, their focus right now is to remove South Africa from the game, capture all of the Middle East, and of course Gibraltar. At this point, if Italy can accomplish all 3 of these tasks, and there's not much resistance in the way of that, then their goals and expectations for this game will be pretty much over. You can't ask much more than taking out Africa from Italy. Asking more than that is probably... I don't think you can do it. As for the Japanese and FEC, there was a massive battle here. Not as big as this one, but definitely a significant battle. The FEC obviously lost. The Japanese currently have in Bangladesh medium armor, mechanized, heavy artillery, 2 artillery, and 7 veteran infantry. So there's nothing stopping them from attacking next turn. It is a victory city, utilizing their air force. If the AA gun does get a couple hits, they'll also take it on the fighter or the tactical, saving their veterans. Up north, the Japanese did take units out of Novosibirsk, started moving east. So I wonder what they're doing in this region. Probably trying to increase their money supply as much as possible. For acquisition, just a couple more infantry and a carrier, some tactical bombers, and 5 cruisers. So the fleet size for both sides, the Americans have 6 battleships, 6 aircraft carriers, and about 7 destroyer or cruisers, and 8 destroyers. The Japanese have 14 destroyers, 5 cruisers, 8 battleships, 4 of which are Amato, 8 carriers, 2 escort carriers, another carrier, and they got 3 transports loaded. All these units are in the Marshall Islands, and they got 2 more along the way. So it'll be another 4 units, 10 units, and their sole task is to take out Hawaii. The Americans did beef up their defenses with these 2 transports from San Francisco. So we'll see how this plays out. The Americans might need to get some more infantry in here, but they're running out of time as the Japanese has their sights on that city. So basically, the Japanese will take out 2 more cities. The game is, if this turns out to be a loss for the Axis, you cannot blame Japan, as they now control a vast majority of the planet. You really can't, again, just like the Italians, you can't really ask much more than this. But the Germans are taking the bulk of the Allied war, as the Italians have been mostly ignored outside of their fighting in Africa, and Japan has been ignored for a little bit now, as the US and UK have been focusing on a German first strategy. So we'll see how all this plays out. For this region, what their plan is the British to take out Reims, complete the conquest of France, and hold in Reims, maybe even go up into Holland, but definitely hold in Reims, and make that a dam for any German assault, and allow the Americans to come down and make a run for Rome. So we'll see how that plays out. And then once Rome falls, then just like the French, or similar, the Italians will switch sides. So the Italians will switch sides. All their income, all their units that don't have another Axis unit in the territory, they'll switch as well. So, for example, Cairo would turn German, but all these small pockets of Italians would switch to Allied. But I do believe the Navy stays Axis. It's only the Air Force and the Army that would switch. And any territory, say Germany had infantry here, for example, that would go German. Or let's just say the Germans had men here, this Italian force would stay Axis. So we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, it's not going to happen yet. It'll be a few more turns, but it should be interesting. And that's how we'll go with my understanding of the rules. Of course, if I have that wrong, please let me know. And I'll, of course, review the rules again before any action is taken. All right, well, thank you for watching, and you have yourself a great day.